Moving on for now, the Indian Navy announced the deployment of guided missile destroyers to maintain a deterrent presence in view of the recent attacks in the Arabian Sea. Taking into consideration a spate of attacks on commercial vessels, the Indian Navy deployed the warships INS Mormugao, INS Kochi and INS Kolkata to maintain a deterrent presence in the region. Meanwhile, the MV Chem Pluto, carrying 21 Indians and one Vietnamese crew, which was earlier reported as attacked by a suspected drone on Saturday, reached Mumbai and was safely anchored at outer anchorage of India's financial capital. On its arrival, the Indian Navy Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team inspected the vessel to make a preliminary assessment of the type and nature of the attack. Further forensic and technical analysis is being done to establish the vector of attack, including the type and amount of explosive used. All right, joining me is Captain Alok Bansal. Captain Bansal is the director of India Foundation, a privately held think tank headquartered in New Delhi. Captain Bansal, welcome to DD India News Hour. Now, the theatre of conflict seems to have expanded from the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden to the Arabian Sea, which is closer to the Indian borders. What are its implications for India and the region at large?
It's a very serious issue because till now the conflict or the attacks were confined to Red Sea, which is actually a narrow sea and which passes very close to Yemen, where Houthis rebels were actually had claimed that they're targeting these ships. But this particular ship, Chem Pluto, has been targeted in Arabian Sea, very close to Indian coast, and quite far off from Yemen or Arabian Peninsula, to say so. So it's a very big question as to how it was targeted, because a drone that can fly that far off would have to be big. It would have to be far more capable than the ordinary drones which have been used to target ships which are flying in Red Sea, because targeting a ship in Red Sea does not require a drone with great capabilities. It just requires limited endurance and limited explosives which can be fired from there. And it has been more of a nuisance rather than causing any serious damage to the ships. But it creates a big deterrence values. It actually raises the insurance costs for shipping and makes global trade far more expensive. And this is an issue which is a big thing. But now it's happening in India's backyard, and the area where it has been fired at, we have a huge chunk of shipping coming from Persian Gulf. If a ship can be attacked in North Arabian Sea, our main slop, which comes from sea line of communication, which comes from Persian Gulf and brings crude and energy to India's refineries, can also be targeted. And that is a serious issue because, as you know, India's 97% of our trade comes through the medium of sea. And consequently, Indian Navy, which is the largest littoral navy, has to provide that sort of a deterrence. And I think Indian Navy has rightfully deployed 3 of its very, very modern and very capable and potent ships into the Arabian Sea. But we must also understand that the expanse of the ocean is vast. And no amount of ships can provide a foolproof security. They can only act as a deterrent. And I think that they are in a position to do that. I think no other country would dare do that. But a rogue drone can always come in. So that factor we'll have to take into account. There are also question marks as to who is involved, because US was just off the, as soon as the attack took place, there was a statement from Pentagon saying that the drone came from Iran. So that's another issue which we'll have to look into, whether it actually came from Iran, because as you have said very clearly in your report, that the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team is actually also investigating the forensic part of it. From which angle, which direction did the attack come from?
Captain Bansal, you spoke about the MV Chem Pluto being attacked by a suspected drone. You also referred to about who could possibly be behind it. We'll come back to that momentarily. Let me take a moment to play out what Defense Minister Rajnath Singh just said just a short while ago on this very issue. Take a listen.
भारत की बढ़ती आर्थिक और सामरिक ताकत ने कुछ ताकतों को ईर्ष्या और द्वेष से भर दिया है। अरब सागर में हाल में हुए MV चेम प्लूटो पर ड्रोन हमले और कुछ पहले लाल सागर में MV साईं बाबा पर हुए हमले को भारत सरकार ने बहुत ही गंभीरतापूर्वक लिया है। भारतीय नौसेना ने समुद्र की निगरानी बढ़ा दी है। जिन्होंने भी इस हमले को अंजाम दिया है उन्हें हम सागर तल से भी ढूंढ निकालेंगे और उनके खिलाफ कठोर कार्रवाई की जाएगी। मैं यह आपको आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं।
Right, so that was Defence Minister Rajnath Singh of India speaking at the commissioning of a new Indian warship. And just to paraphrase what the minister said there in Hindi, he says, India has taken those attacks in the Arabian Sea and the Red Sea very, very seriously. He said the Indian Navy has increased the maritime surveillance across the region and that India will find the perpetrators of this attack even from the depths of the ocean and bring them to justice. Captain Bansal, coming back to the issue at hand, the attack on the MV Chem Pluto, I have to ask you this. Who do you think could be behind it and why?
It's a very difficult question. It could be Houthis, there is no doubt, because I think I understand that this ship's ownership has some Israeli connection, though, as I said, the ship is flying a flag of another country. I think the crew, barring one, were all Indians. So that's a feasibility. But US was off the cuff saying that it's an Iranian drone. Now that looks a little implausible to me at this moment, though it cannot be completely denied, because Iran would unnecessarily not like to antagonize India, because the ship was definitely bound for Indian port. And how did Americans come to know immediately after the attack that it has come from Iran? Were they tracking the drone? If they were tracking the drone, then why didn't they warn us before the attack that a drone is coming this side? We could have actually prevented an attack. So there are a lot of questions, but whoever has done it, I think we need to take cognizance of it. Now that till forensic investigation and other factors come out, I think it may be a little premature for us to jump and accuse A, B, or C of guilt. Let's be very clear, it was not very far off from Pakistani coast also. So you can never be sure that there was no ISI dirty tricks department which was also involved. Anything at this point of time is feasible, because there is some amount of fog of war which is there. And any country which has its vested interest may like to take advantage of the position and pit you against somebody else. So we have to see who is saying what and in what context.
Fair enough. Point well taken. On that note, may I thank Captain Bansal for joining us and sharing your thoughts with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.